Hello and welcome back to this course, covering the exam topics for the JNCIS ENT certification. In this section of the course, we're reviewing Layer 2 switching and VLANs, where we're covering Layer 2 switching mechanisms and Ethernet switching configurations in Junos. In this lesson, we'll be covering VLANs, or Virtual Local Area Networks. Many of you may not remember a time before the existence of VLANs, where in order to separate one set of traffic from another, like perhaps a finance department network and an HR department network, one had to use separate physical switches. This is where we had routers everywhere, because routers could separate security zones and route between broadcast domains or between networks. VLANs were one of the first examples of network virtualization, allowing for a separate bridging table and logical separation between networks. So let's dive in and learn how they work. As I mentioned, VLANs allow for logical separation of traffic. Specifically, VLANs allow us to configure multiple broadcast domains on a single physical switch and control which ports are a member of which VLAN. Ports which are not a member of the same VLAN would not receive a broadcast frame, like in the diagram here. We have two users which are members of VLAN 10, then the one on the right, which is a member of VLAN 20. The broadcast isn't forwarded out the VLAN 20 port. The same goes for unicast frames. When creating a separate VLAN, the switch creates an additional bridging table for the ports which are a member of the new VLAN. By default, when the device has no configuration set, all switch ports would be members of the default VLAN, so that they are associated with a bridging table and are functional. Let's take a look at the types of switch port roles there can be when talking about VLANs in particular. Switch ports may be configured as either an access port or a trunk port. Both of these port types are concerned with the tagging of traffic. First, let's review what an access port is. An access port carries untagged traffic for a single VLAN or broadcast domain. Typically, access ports are what connect to end-user workstations or phones. Since these ports can only carry a single VLAN of traffic, we don't usually see these links between switches or to wireless access points or servers due to server virtualization. Although in the case of voice over IP, where the user's computer connects through the phone and the voice and data traffic are carried over different VLANs, this is still considered an access port, even though it technically carries traffic over multiple VLANs. This just utilizes a feature called voice VLAN to carry the voice and data traffic over a single access port. Now, let's take a closer look at a trunk port. As you might have guessed, trunk ports carry traffic over multiple VLANs. See, in order for one switch or device to associate ingress traffic with the proper VLAN or broadcast domain, it must know what VLAN it should be a member of. This is done by tagging the traffic. Ports configured as trunks are seen at any point where multiple VLANs are needed over a single port. A wireless access point may host multiple SSIDs and locally switches them onto the correct VLAN. Another connected switch may have users in multiple VLANs connected. To allow a single physical link to carry traffic for multiple VLANs, a standard was developed for a header field in the Ethernet frame which contained a tag for associating a VLAN. This standard is 802.1q. This header field is inserted into each and every frame that is transmitted over a trunk link, so the receiving device may associate the frame with the correct VLAN. Untagged traffic transmitted over a trunk port is considered to be part of the native VLAN. The native VLAN is a configurable option for the network administrator. Choosing your native VLAN appropriately can save significant amounts of traffic overhead to maximize the data throughput over the link. Thank you for reviewing VLANs with me and reviewing the different types of ports involved when talking about VLANs. I hope that this has been informative for you, and I would like to thank you for viewing.